Alright, in this next video is lesson 4. Jeff will actually do some practical demonstrations for you, actually scratching the gold rings on the block and test them out. Alright, here we go.
Alright, I'm Jeff the Jeweler. This is lesson 4. This is the practical. This has to do with the gold test practical. This is what it actually looks like. We're going to put some gold on a test brick. Here's a test brick, by the way. This is a piece of glass made for testing gold, but normally your test brick is the same brick you sharpen a knife with. Anything that'll hold a sample, you can put acid on and test it. Most acids that you buy on eBay or wherever manufactured, they'll have the test brick available on the same page. Alright, so what we're concerned about here is what it looks like. We're actually going to test some gold. This is at the point where you're getting ready to put money down for something, and you want to know what the purity is. You want to know first, is it gold? So that's the first thing we'll establish. Is it gold? And then the second thing we'll establish is the purity. So the first example we have is a reaction for 10 karat. We'll sample some 10 karat on the block, and then I'll show you what it should look like. In the example here on the screen, you'll see that the first acid, the 10 karat, didn't react with it. It looks like water just bubbling up on the sample. The second, the 14 karat acid, is a little bit stronger. It's starting to eat through the test sample. You can see it more easily, I guess, as just a dark area as opposed to the light area here. But if you waited maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but most of the time you do it in about 30 seconds, you can tell it's starting to eat the sample. Let me show you what it looks like close up. That's the important part. We're going to take a sample here. This is an item I've already tested as 10 karat. We're going to get, and notice I'm scratching it really hard. The key here is if somebody's trying to trick you, or maybe they don't even know it, they're trying to sell you something that's gold filled and they don't know it, you want to test it on a sharp corner, because if it's gold filled, if somebody's painted it with gold, so to speak, really it's electroplated on the surface, the corners are the weak spot. That's where the plating would be the thinnest. So you can scratch through it. Hopefully you would get some of the base metal, if it's fake, on the block you plan to test, because that's what the acid is going to react with. It's not going to react with the gold. So you got to get through the gold filled part. You can scratch it as long as you don't bend it, and really you can examine it later. You don't really see where you scratched it, so you're not really hurting the jewelry. Alright, let's pull it up here in high definition, if we can get such a thing. Here we go. Alright, this is the 10 karat acid. They make all the acids with different color tops so you don't make a mistake, but if you get used to the colors, you may switch the bottles. You really need to read the bottle. It says 10 karat. Alright, so we have the test sample on here. Let me see if I can get a spot where it also shows up. Alright, we don't want to mix the acids, so we want to leave plenty of room to demonstrate what we're trying to show here. Alright, this is the 10 karat acid. It's on the substance there. It's on the sample on the brick. Alright, we can see it up here. It's you can see the dark area, but you can still see the gold showing through. If it was reacting with it, you would see the gold starting to like Dawn dish soap, it would separate, but eventually the sample would eat through it. You can see it's moving a little bit. It's raising some of the sample, but it's only raising the part that's not gold. It's leaving enough that your eye can identify that this is 10 karat gold. Alright, so now we're going to move on to a stronger acid. This is a 14. It's got a green top. You want to read on it that it says 14 karat. And then, let me see if I can get it on the screen here. You don't want to mix the acids because you'll dilute one, make one stronger. Alright, so we'll give it a second to work. This is a 14 karat acid, and we've put it on the sample, and it's starting to turn dark. You can see that it's beginning to eat the whole sample. It's going to leave a little tiny bit of gold on the brick, and don't let that fool you. For the most part, your naked eye at a distance here, it's the dark area. You can tell it's starting to eat it. It's almost completely ate through it, so we know it's not 14 karat. We have to step back to where we got a positive test, which means it did not react, and that means it's 10 karat gold. So you can see in the screen here that it's not reacting with it. It didn't remove the gold off the test block, so we know this is a pretty good sample for a 10 karat gold example. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some 14 karat on the brick. We're going to move up impurity and a little bit stronger acid, and we'll see what exactly it takes to test 14 karat. I'll move this out of the way a little bit. Alright, now we get a 14 karat item. I already know what these are, but you're only testing them ordinarily because you don't know what they are. Alright, so we'll get a good sample here. You can't really see it in the microscope. Let me see if I can pull up the next. Alright, so that was a 10 karat. This is a 14 karat. You can see the first two acids don't react with it, but the third one does. So this is what we're going to demonstrate now. Alright, the first thing I notice, I'm scratching it really strong against the brick. The first thing I notice is that the color is a little darker. It's actually a little closer to orange, but your eye really can't determine that. It just looks like it's a prettier color gold or something, and that's the first clue that this is a finer gold product than 10 karat. It's given a strong sample. It's leaving a lot on the brick. We didn't have to scratch it real hard to get a really strong sample. Alright, now we're going to go through the acids. We'll start with the 10 karat first. Make sure we don't make a mistake here. Alright, let's see if we can get this on the screen for you so we can demonstrate. Alright, we're going to have to go a little bit this way. The 10 karat sample isn't so important on this because we already know the 10 karat's not going to react with it, but I'm going to go ahead and put some on the brick here and show you it does move a little bit. It's 14 karat, it's 58% pure, so there's still almost 40% of something on this brick it isn't gold that the acid will react with, but it's not reacting with it strong enough that your eye can pick it up. Even in high definition, this looks like it's not reacting with it at all. This is the 10 karat. Alright, so now we'll move on to the 14. Always make sure we're using the right acid. Let's see if we can put it on the block here without mixing the acids because they're going to contaminate it. Alright, there's a good distance in there. We can still see it. Let me move it a little bit. Alright, now we have them both on there. This is the 10 karat acid. This is the 14 karat acid. It's not reacting with it at all, but you do see it looks like maybe it is eating it a little bit. This is a stronger acid, but to the naked eye on that brick at a distance of about, I don't know, 18 inches or so, you can't detect that this is eating it at all, that it's reacting with it at all. So you know you're probably dealing with 14 karat gold. But just in case it's finer gold than that, you want to find out which acid does react with it so you can step back and declare it's 14 karat or 10 karat or even 18 karat. We're moving on to the 18 karat acid now. Let me see if I can get the 14 and the 18 on the screen at the same time. It needs to go this way. Alright. This one is the 14, and here goes the 18 karat acid. Make sure we can get it on the screen. There we go. Don't mix the acids. Alright, it should take a second, but this should react with it. If it doesn't react with it, you know you've got 14 karat. But right away your eye can detect it's starting to get darker, that something's happening here. If you could really see what was happening, even in high definition, it's hard to detect. But this acid is starting to react with the test sample. Now at a distance of 18 or 20 inches, your naked eye can actually detect it. It looks like the samples are different. That's the important part. That's why you want to use 10, then 14, then 18 side by side so you can look at the differences between the acids. You don't have to memorize it. You can actually see the difference. That the 18 karat acid is starting to eat it. Look, it's left a lot of the sample on here because this is almost 60% pure gold. So there's part of the sample left on here, but what it has done is removed enough of the sample that we can detect with our naked eye at about 18 inches that two of them did not react and the third one did. It looks like this on, there you go. This is what we're trying to demonstrate, that 1 and 2, the 10 and the 14 did not react with the sample, but 18 did. So we know to step back, we can say this is 14 karat. Now if we were, we weren't sure at all on the 14 karat, it looks like it's starting to turn dark. And I wouldn't buy it for 14. It's probably closer to 13 karat. It's an item made by a jeweler. It's custom made or something that's not manufactured. You might buy it as 10 karat when this happens, but the item said 14 karat. It's close to 14 karat, so maybe just discount it in price. Maybe you normally pay $20 a gram or penny weight. We'll discuss that in the next episode, the difference between grams and penny weights, because the weight is the next thing we need to know about. You got purity, how much gold's in it, and then you need to know what system of weight and measure are we using, and then we can pay for it, because from that information right there, there's two pieces of information. Is it gold? What kind of purity is it? And how much does it weigh? We can figure out a fair price, a fair market price, pay the customer a fair price, and then know we're going to sell it, and there's a profit. But the first thing we have to determine before we ever lay money down is what carat is it, how pure is it, and then, or is it gold, of course, and then how pure is it? And then at that point, what does it weigh? And do they want to use grams or penny weights? And then what is the price of gold on the market right now? This will enable us to make money buying gold and selling it. All right, so we've showed an example of 10 and 14 karat. Let's move up in purity one more time and show you what a pure sample looks like. 10 and 14 is almost everything you're going to run into. But a lot of people buy their gold overseas, and you see a lot of 18 karat and a lot of 22 karat. This is very fine gold, and it's hard to recognize if you haven't bought and sold a lot of gold. So you got to rely on this gold test. This test goes back 10,000 years. As long as it's yellow gold, this holds true. We're going to discuss white gold maybe 2 lessons down. But what we're going to use is common sense to buy white gold. All right, so now we have a sample. First thing I should tell you is when we were scratching it, it left a really solid sample. It's orange in color compared to the other two. So what I know about gold tells me pure gold's almost orange. This item I'm testing is almost orange in color. I scratched it hard enough to leave a sample. If it was plated 18 or 22 karat, it would have came off. So without testing this, I can tell you it's 22 karat gold just from the way it looks. All right, let's see if we can get it on the screen. Let's move right to 14 and 18 and skip the 10. All right, we want to back this off right there. Move it over. All right, this is a 14 karat acid on the brick. There's almost no movement because this is pure gold. There's nothing for the acid to react with. All right, let's okay, got a good shot of that. You see, look how pretty it is. It's bright orange almost. That's the first clue, the color, the way it samples. All right, now that's the 14. All right, now I move to the 18 karat. Make sure we got the 18 karat bottle. Anybody can make a mistake. That's why you commit this system to memory. The way you do it, you always do it the same way. The chances of making a mistake go way down. And since you're spending money and you're buying gold and you're using science and math and measurement to determine, is this worth doing? You don't want to make a silly error. All right, so that's the 18 karat acid. It's not movement. It almost looks like there's a little bit of movement up there, but very little. This is almost pure gold. There's nothing for it to react with. All right, now this is a 22 karat acid, right? Is that correct? No, I picked up the 10. See how that works? All right, blue top, 22 karat. Let's get a good sample here. Now, I'm going to tell you there's something tricky to this because we're dealing with 22 karat gold or better. And this is very strong acid. All right, let's see what's going to happen. All right, that acid almost entirely removed it from the brick. All right, if we use that 22 karat acid and it looks like the 18 karat sample, it didn't react with it at all up here, then we know this is probably 22, 23, or almost 24 karat gold, like when you're testing a coin. But when you see this, that the 22 karat acid almost completely removed the sample, you got to step back and buy this as 18 karat. That item is stamped 916. It's supposed to be 22 karat. But my 22 karat acid completely removed it. I have to buy it as 18 karat. You'd have to tell the customer that maybe this is 20 karat or 19 karat, or buy it for 22 karat or 21 karat, but you got to discount the money you're paying for it because you'll lose money. When this gets to the refinery, that's going to show up as probably 19 karat gold, and you bought 19 parts of 24, but you paid 22. That's why this is so important. This acid cannot be tricked on a yellow metal. It goes back thousands of years. People have laid their money out on this test without using anything else. I've run a number of different businesses on this one acid test just for yellow gold. So that's a pretty good example and scenario of what you're going to see. 10 karat, 14 karat, 18 karat, and even 22. But you rely on these acids. Don't believe the stamps. Figure out a way to explain to the customer that the jeweler that made this stamped at 22, but it's actually about 20 karat gold. I can only pay you this for it. All right, that's it. This is the practical part of lesson 4. We're really starting to get into the money. It's really important. You really got to get good at using these acids and have some test gold. Maybe if you're unsure, you go back to that test gold. You have a default method to teach yourself not to make a mistake so you don't lose money. All right, thank you. That's Jeff the Jeweler. This has been the practical part of testing gold.
All right, after looking at lessons 3 and 4, you should be ready to test gold and go in. If you find a ring, test it out, no problem. I'll still put the links down below in my description if you want to buy the test acids and the block to do it with. All right, thanks for coming along on this video, and we got some more coming up soon.